Hello, ZC Live 2020. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Given this is a virtual event, you could be anywhere, right? It's a great pleasure to be back presenting at ZC Live. I have to say, it feels like a very long time since I was on the stage back in May 2019, and it probably feels twice as long given everything that we are going through this year. I hope you're all safe and well and enjoying the day so far. Welcome to my office, also known as my 9-year-old Liverpool supporting son's bedroom. I have to go with it, unfortunately, not much option, even though I support Leeds. My name is Dave Pepper, and I'm the lead marketing manager for Twitter Business. Here in EMEA, Twitter Business, we help businesses, brands, and organizations of all shapes and sizes connect with their audience and achieve their goals and objectives on Twitter. A quick look at today's agenda. Today, I want to spend a bit of time with you on the short term, first of all, with a countdown to Christmas, and then secondly, looking a little bit further into the long term and hopefully give you some thoughts and suggestions for 2021 planning. There are less than 60 days until Christmas. And with that, I'm going to be shortly joined by my colleague, Jess Percival from our Marketing Insights and Analytics team, who's going to walk you through the findings of some very recent consumer insights covering the lead up to Christmas and their expectations of brands at this time. I'll then take you through some key steps that we've put together that you can take to help you stand out amongst the noise during the festive season. And then with 2021 in mind, I'm going to showcase 7 strategies that we've identified, having spent the last however many months it is analyzing brands communicating on Twitter and focusing on those that lead the way in conversation. In terms of questions, unfortunately, we won't have time to be doing questions at the end of the session, but I'm very happy to take questions on Twitter, whether it's throughout the session or thereafter. Please feel free to DM me at PepperDS. My DMs are open, so it will be great to hear from you. All right, let's get started. Who yet has not bought a Christmas present? I'm working my way through the list, and let's have a look and see what people are saying about Christmas in this very strange year that we are encountering. It's my pleasure to welcome Jess Percival, as I said, from our Marketing Insights and Analytics team. Jess is going to present you the key highlights of some very recent consumer research in the lead up to Christmas. Over to you, Jess.
As Dave said, I'm Jess and I'm an analyst on the UK ad research team. And to paraphrase my favourite tweet of the last week, I hope you're all staying positive and testing negative. Sorry, I never usually get an audience there. That's big. So we are now 80% of the way through 2020. Which is quite exciting, I think, because we've only got 20% left of 2020 for a year which has been particularly hard for the vast majority of people. But it's also quite exciting because we are now kind of hurtling towards Christmas, because it's been March, we've blinked, and now it's October. So yeah, we've got Halloween coming up in 10 days or so, but Christmas is what's now on the brain. So I worked at Twitter for 3 years now, and I look after all of our Christmas insights. But thinking back to December 2018, it just makes me think how predictable we all were. So if you've been in the industry for a while, you might be familiar with a slide like this. So looking at tweets and search data, we were able to tell exactly, like pinpointing, when people thought it was socially acceptable to be festive. So when they were cracking out the mince pies, when they were starting to make their own mulled wine, and when they were listening to Mariah Carey on repeat. So we are creatures of habit, and in the past it's been extremely easy to plan Christmas because we know exactly when these big moments are happening. But for this year, our timelines are all just completely thrown off. So what we want to do is get you into the mindset of a Twitter user going towards Christmas and hopefully leave you with a couple of hints and tips of how you can effectively connect with this audience. So I want to show you a tweet here from Chris Dixon. So it is a GIF and it's him running around on the football pitch cheering. And this is him leaving Tesco after buying mince pies on October the 12th because it's been a really tough year. And I think this is a sentiment which echoes all of us. So not only are our timelines all over the shop, what we now know from Twitter users is that our emotions are also equally all over the shop. And it's what we're referring to internally as the COVID coaster. So we discovered this trend around emotional tweeting. So if you read this in the sense of emotional eating, what we know is that Twitter users and everyone has been much more emotional in lockdown. And we can tell this not only in the way they tweet. So we've seen a 21% increase in uses of these emotive descriptors. So words like happy, sad, furious versus before lockdown. But we also validated this by speaking directly to Twitter users. And we know that 2/3 of them have said their mood has been much more changeable during lockdown. So this is this idea of where this COVID roller coaster of emotions comes from. So we wanted to look at it through an emoji lens because we've also noticed we've become a lot more emotional. So this is looking at the growth in usage of the most popular emojis versus before lockdown. So if you look at the top of the roller coaster, we see there's a 79% increase in usage of this little guy with the pleading eyes, closely followed by a 60% increase in use of the crying emoji. But it's not all doom and gloom. We have got a lot of positive emojis in there as well, kind of spreading hope, spreading love, and spreading the hilarious Twitter content, which most of us are here for. So as a brand, how do you connect with this emotional tweeting mindset? So a couple of do's and don'ts. So do be human and keep evolving your tone of voice. And most importantly, listen and adapt. So read the room, understand what's happening in the news and taking it like a temperature gauge test of what's happening in the world and adapt your content accordingly. And most importantly, don't be half-hearted. So so avoid displaying empathy when times are tough and then forgetting in the future. So if you are making a gesture, you are making a statement, just ensure you are true, authentic, and you're backing that up as your content continues. So we know we're in this kind of strange mindset. So we reached out to our online community panel of Twitter users to understand how they feel going into Christmas. So we've got some Elton here to set the scene. So 6 in 10 people are still very excited about Christmas and they think it's nice to have something to look forward to after a difficult year. But the main concern we're hearing echoing across the internet is the fact that with all the uncertainty, it's very hard to start planning ahead. So we wanted to bring this in on a very positive note and try and find out what people are most looking forward to about Christmas. And the number one thing people are most excited about is actually spending time with their family and their close friends. And the second thing they're most excited about is Christmas dinner. But we are all acutely aware of the pandemic which we're in and the fact that everything changes so quickly. And what we know is that 8 in 10 people actually understand that adjustments are necessary for the UK to contain COVID-19. So it might not necessarily go the way we want it to in December, but people are starting to plan ahead already. So when we spoke to Twitter users, 60% of them said that if they can't celebrate with their friends and family in person, they'll celebrate virtually. So for example, on video calls. But not all doom and gloom, because we've got 48% of people who are actively saying they're looking forward to a quieter Christmas, which got me thinking, what is it about Christmas that people would happily skip if they have the option to this year? And the number one thing people would happily skip this year is the office Christmas party, followed by the Boxing Day sale shopping in store, and then New Year's Eve parties. So we've got a mix here of a couple of big social occasions, probably quite high pressure with New Year's Eve, and then an extremely busy in-store shopping experience with those Boxing Day sales with everyone charging in. So everyone's very happy to be sidestepping this if we have to for 2020. But without Christmas parties, people won't be spending as much on clothes or accessories as they would normally. So thinking about spending in general, we've got 6 in 10 people actually saying they plan to spend the same this year on gifts as they did in 2019. But the main difference this year is that people are planning to start shopping for gifts earlier than usual because they're worried about how busy the shops might be. They want to avoid being in close contact with people, but also how long deliveries might take. So we're seeing people being a bit more considered with their purchases and planning it further in advance, less kind of reflecting what we used to see with those last minute panic shoppers on our Christmas calendar from a couple of slides back. So for us, we wanted to understand what is on the shopping list for 2020. So what's on that gift shopping list across different age groups. So I'm going to chat you through this slide because I realise it's a bit busy, but along the top, we've got Twitter monthly active users within different age groups. So we've got 18 to 24s, all the way through to 55 plus going along the top. And coming down the left-hand side, we've got the top 5 gifts, which are on their shopping list for this year. So starting with 18 to 24s, the number 1 gift on their list this year is funny or novelty items and gadgets for their friends. For 25 to 34s, it's food items. 35 to 44s, they're all about buying toys. And then the 45 plus category is all about clothing. So obviously there's a lot of different data points on here. So I tried to color code them to make them a little bit easier for us to pick out any trends. And the number 1 which jumps out to me here is clothing. So clothing is the light blue with the little dress on it. And we can see that clothing is within the top 3 gifts across all age categories. So although we saw, I think about 2 slides ago, people think they'll be spending a lot less on clothing for themselves, it's still a primary category for gifting for this year. That's still a very interesting opportunity for retailers. And then we've got the food items as well. So coming up here in yellow, extremely popular across all categories. So by food items, we mean things like hampers, biscuits, chutneys. And then the last one, we've got alcoholic drinks in the dark green. So kind of moving further and further up the gift list from the 45 plus. So as a brand, what do people actually want from you in this Christmas time? So from brands, people want brands to provide their products and their services well, to have prompt customer service, but also have useful information on the measures which people are taking to minimise the risk of COVID-19. So not explicitly reminding people of the situation of COVID-19, but just being cautious and careful when you are sharing information. But bring it back to an ads perspective. We've gone bright orange in the slide, so we're getting lots of positivity back in here. And we've got 72% of people want ads that distract them from the situation rather than remind them. So what do people actually want to see from brands? They want humour, they want lightheartedness, and they want nothing that references COVID-19 or anything to do with lockdown restrictions, and just a little bit of escapism and fun. So hopefully there's a couple of things here which you can take out, and do feel free to reach out to us. We've got a ton more Christmas insights which we're happy to share and help you plan the best campaigns you can. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone's campaigns going live over the next couple of months.
Thank you, Jess. Some really interesting insights there. I hope you found them of use. So now that we know what consumers are thinking, how they're thinking, and what they're looking to from brands, I want to just walk you through a set of tools, tips, and tricks for you to leverage your Twitter presence, whether you're promoting products or services in the lead up to Christmas, or whether you're planning ahead for 2021. These tips can be actioned straight away, whether it's down to what campaign type to use, different ad formats, or even some creative best practices. To allow you to just sit back and enjoy the section and not be furiously scribbling down notes, I've asked Zoe to send you a PDF that we've prepared that will include links to much more details about each and every one of these tips. So let's start our 12 ways to make a success of Christmas Twitter. First up, let's refresh your profile and your pin tweets to reflect what's going on right now. It's important to keep it fresh and up to date, especially as consumers we know are looking for simple, easy information. So refresh your profile picture and your header image, and make sure in your profile that you update key information such as customer service availability, shipping information, anything that you really feel that your customers or your audience needs to see. Don't forget to put your website in your bio. People can then find it and get there. And refresh your pinned tweet to show what's going on right now, whether that's a key message, a special offer, whatever that may be. And of course, don't forget to update your header image too, as well, just in line with the season, with your key message, and use those 3 things together. Download the Twitter Business Q4 Marketing Calendar. It's a busy time of the year, whether you are in festive mode or whether, again, as I mentioned, if you're planning for 2021. So plan ahead and give yourself a little bit of headspace. There's definitely some buzzworthy dates and events that you can plan around this quarter, not just the big ones that we all know about. And these really give you the opportunity to showcase relevance with your brand where appropriate. So whether it's a single tweet or an entire campaign, don't miss a chance to be part of what's happening. And there's some great opportunities for you to connect your audience. Twitter lists, they're a great way of keeping informed and getting in the know. It's very easy to create a custom timeline that only contains tweets from the accounts that you want to include in it. So some potential categories, for example, that we thought about. You could create a list of your competitors to see what's going on, thought leaders in your industry, your top tweet engagers, or even a list of brands that perhaps inspire you and have a strong presence, so you can just keep an eye on what they're doing. You can create a shareable list as well, which is a great way of showing a different side to you, and it's a little bit something that you can give back to your customers. So check out Twitter lists. They're easy to start. They're easy to manage, and we definitely recommend those. If you want to engage with your audience, you obviously don't just have to do paid campaigns on Twitter. The good way of keeping your audience engaged is to run paid and organic strategies at the same time. We've created a month of tweets one-pager, which has 20 thought-starting ideas for your organic content. There's lots of different ones, as you can see. FAQs, retweeting, a pro tip, a retweet with a comment, a behind-the-scenes picture. There's tons of stuff just to get you started. And if you combine this with the marketing calendar, then perhaps a stat or a meme could be more relevant when timed around certain events. So the other thing that we recommend is that you keep an eye on which tweets get the most engagement. That will just help you build out your strategy as you go forward. So definitely check out the month of tweets. You need to captivate your audience, and there's no better way to boost your tweets by adding graphics to anything that you put out there. And this will really help you capture the attention of your audience. So whether you're using images or GIFs and video, they drive additional engagement to your tweets. GIFs can obviously be created quite easily. If you don't want to do that, then you can simply choose one directly from your tweet by clicking the GIF button. And when it comes to video, tweets with video are 6 times more likely to be retweeted. So you can see that there is an immediate benefit there of using video in your tweets. And keep your videos between 6 to 15 seconds. That's definitely the sweet spot for engagement on Twitter. If you're moving towards creating campaigns, and I'm going to talk to you about 3 different campaign types that would be good for this time of year. One of the things that you need to do beforehand is to really understand your audience. And I've picked out three kind of key tips around targeting for you. From an interest perspective, think about interests that your audience is likely to have. Don't just pick on the easy ones. Do a little bit of thinking and brainstorming. For example, the target audience of a bike shop might also be people who enjoy surfing or sailing or skiing, for example, outdoor activities. If you're looking at keywords and handles and follower lookalikes, we definitely recommend a minimum of 5, and we would say start slightly broader, and then as you analyze your campaigns, you can start to remove the low-performing keywords and follower lookalikes that you have in there. And then when it comes to demographics, don't limit your overall reach. Keep your targeting open. If it's appropriate, keep it open to all genders and ages. For example, don't restrict your campaign from the get-go. And we would definitely recommend staying away from language targeting unless, again, you specifically need that. And in its place, we would say just go with the country. So broaden your targeting as you start campaigns. The first campaign type that we want to talk about is around awareness. Your audience can't and won't consider your brand, and they won't convert if they've never heard of you, right? Twitter is the #1 platform for discovery, and research has shown that 79% of people on Twitter like to discover what's new. They're receptive to new things, whether that's a new brand, a new message, a new product. Twitter is a great place to reach that audience. So maximize your reach by getting the largest audience to see your ads with a reach campaign. Be transparent about your offering, what your product is, and what people can gain by engaging with your ad. This very much increases the likelihood of engagement. And we definitely would recommend as well to try, if you're running a campaign, once it's launched, leave it run for at least 3 to 4 days before making any changes. This just gives the system time to surface the data to then feed back to you so that you can analyze how it's performing. Once we've generated brand awareness, Twitter is a platform where conversations start. This is a great opportunity for you to build meaningful relationships with that audience. So increased engagement, we know, leads to brand lift and sales. And people respond best to compelling tweets. So very much think about creative ways to develop interesting tweet content that will engage your audience. And the month of tweets is one great source of some ideas there. And as you start to build out your engagement campaigns, get to know your audience, use the Twitter Analytics tool to understand who is engaging and speak to them speak to them directly and very much around their interests. One great way to start engagement with your audience is using a Twitter poll. So you can ask your followers a question using a poll in your tweet, and it will help them feel part of the conversation, and it can really compel them to engage with your brands. It's a fun way to engage with your audience and involve your followers in maybe even brand decisions. A poll can be used to learn from your customers and very much helping you frame your product or content in the future. Great thing about polls as well is once the Twitter poll is closed, all participants get a notification about the results, which can lead to even more engagement and conversation going ahead. So we definitely recommend that you take a look at creating Twitter polls. Relevance is key, right? And video on Twitter is a great way of driving relevance. Tweets with video attract 10 times more engagement than tweets without. So a couple of tips if you're in a position to use and leverage video, whether it's organic or in paid campaigns. Use strong visuals and share your brand's product or offering within the first 3 seconds. This will definitely serve to capture viewer interest. And make sure that you showcase your logo throughout the video. Be mobile friendly. Twitter is mobile first, and optimize videos for sound off viewing as well. And as I've mentioned, keep it short and sweet. Research has shown a 3 times increase in completion rates, 15-second ads versus 30-second ads. And check out Twitter Amplify Pre-Roll. This is a product that we have that very much allows you to gain brand relevance and aligning with customers' passion points by running targeted pre-roll video ads before content that they're about to watch and that they want to watch. So Amplify Pre-Roll has delivered in recent research 68% campaign awareness and has aided ad recall by 33%. So use video to be relevant with your audience. We're running paid campaigns. We want clicks, right? We want people to take action. And one format that we cannot recommend highly enough on Twitter is the website card. Website cards are first and foremost more aesthetically pleasing to the eye compared to a standard tweet with an image and a link. But more importantly, they drive a lot more clicks. You don't need a ton more assets to be able to create website cards. Use what you have. If you have imagery, if you have videos, you can build the website card quite quickly and easily, and you can take it from there. Every time you craft a tweet, especially one that you're looking for your audience to click, just consider how much stronger that message could be when it's accompanied by an image or a short video. And you can always go one step further, right? What I'm showing you on the screen is a basic version with some copy, an image, and a headline or a CTA. But you can also start to think about using the image as being the primary driver of the message, rather than mix it up a little bit as well. One of the key stats that I think is important in terms of website cards is they have a 43% higher engagement rate than tweets with links. So we would definitely recommend website cards, and you can also use them in paid, but also on organic, which is great. And then finally, we want our customers to convert at this time of year, but always, right? Whatever that conversion is. So a website clicks campaign is the best way to do that, and it will help encourage people interested in your brand to buy or use your product or service. As I've said, people on Twitter are receptive. In fact, they're 53% more likely to be the first to buy new products. So with a website clicks campaign, what we would recommend is convey urgency. Twitter is real time, right? Make sure you set up conversion tracking. That's very important. And then again, the PDF that will be sent out to you will have or include links to all of the detail on how you can do this. Keep your promoted tweets current, so make sure that you refresh those if you have campaigns running over a few weeks or a couple of months. Make sure you refresh the content that's in those campaigns. And the last thing in the CTA is be clear why they should take the action. Don't just expect them to interpret what you want them to do. So whether that's to read more or sign up now or buy now, make sure that you call that out in the content that you have as part of the campaign. So that's website clicks campaign, and that is the third of the campaign formats that of the campaign types that we would definitely recommend you have a look at right now. So that is the countdown to Christmas. If you have any questions on Jess's consumer insights or on our 12 ways, please don't hesitate to DM me on Twitter @PepperDS, and I will do my very best to get back to you or point you in the right direction if you're looking for something specific. So that's the countdown to Christmas. So as we look towards 2021, we're all still in different levels of lockdown, right? We're certainly not out of the woods right now, and things are still different. As we look back over the last few months at Twitter, we've been humbled and inspired by the brands who have stepped up over the last few months to lead the way for others. And during the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to take a look at some great examples of brands leading the way. Hopefully it'll give you some thought starters about what you can do and how you can communicate as you get thinking for 2021. Let's be honest, 2020 has been a challenging year for the world, and brands are no exception. It's also got to go down as one of the most challenging times for marketers, with many of us being unsure how to stay connected with customers. Brands have been looking towards their peers and partners for insights and inspirations to act, looking for answers to some questions like, should we postpone our launch? What sort of tone of voice is appropriate? How can we plan things? How can we plan when things are changing so quickly? At Twitter, we've seen how conversations can make a difference. So from EE, PG Tips, Co-op, Tesco and Cadbury, amongst many others, we're going to shine a light on the practices of those conversation leaders, those brands who inspire others by shifting their marketing, launching something new, despite everything that's going on around them. We've drawn on these best practices from the most effective activations that we've seen on Twitter, and we've curated 7 strategies that brands of the conversation, that leaders of the conversation are using to push their brand forward. And these are lead by listening, lead with purpose, lead by example, lead with something new, lead by connecting, lead with agility, and lead with positivity. We want to empower more brands. We want to empower you to find your voice with insights and inspirations to navigate through this moment. So let's get going. First strategy is lead by listening. Leading brands take the time to understand customers' mindset first before jumping in to help. And now more than ever, people are telling brands what's important to them and how they'd like to be served. People are telling brands that they don't want business as usual, and we've definitely seen that since early on this year. They want brands to be credible. They want brands to be communicative. This has not been and still isn't a time to stop talking. Provide information that your customers want and need. Be supportive. Acts of kindness not only do good, but demonstrate a positive side to your brand. Finally, we believe it's crucial to be people-centric. No matter who your customers are or what industry you're in, bring those people that are perhaps more vulnerable in the community into focus. And by listening to them, help to serve them better. Lead with purpose. More people are explicitly choosing brands these days based on the positive impact that they have on society. There's never been a more critical time for brands to articulate their ideas and more importantly, act on them. People expect brands to lead with purpose-driven campaigns. If you look at the stat, 73% of people on Twitter saying it's important for brands to showcase how they're taking action to reduce their negative impact on the world. So we've put together the 3 Ps, a great way to identify your brand's place right now. Purpose, think about this. Think about what guides your brand. What role do you play in your consumers' lives? And people, how are you supporting those who've been impacted most by what's going on right now? And also think about pledge. Think about how you can give back. Key point here is make sure that this aligns to what your brand offers. Great example here of Heinz providing 12 million free breakfasts, and isn't that topical right now? Third strategy is to lead by example. Conversation leaders find ways to give more, even in the face of a challenging business environment. And while people understand the challenges that brands are facing, they still expect brands to meet their needs. 75% of people consider it useful for brands to show how they're supporting their employees. Conversation leaders tend to follow a common set of rules. We've put these together for you, some do's and some don'ts. Do provide useful and helpful information, and do broadcast initiatives that you've launched that address issues that your customers have raised. And definitely don't make promises that you can't keep. Don't view misfortune as a marketing opportunity, and don't shun interactions with frustrated customers. Flip this, engage with them, and you can go back to broadcasting those initiatives to show that you have listened to your customers. Lead with something new. Brands trying to launch something new over the last few months have facing new, unique challenges, with many launch plans either being brought forward, pushed back, paused, or even cancelled. But it still is possible to introduce brands, new messages, launch new products successfully during a downturn, providing that you follow these 5 best practices of conversation leaders. So listen, understand how your customers' behavior may have changed, and stay true to your voice, but find the right time, the right tone for the right moment. Target, zoom in and focus on your audience and understand as much as you can about them. And go big on reveal, right? Including the lead up to the big day. To spend at least 40% of your total budget leading up to and on launch day. And of course, be prepared. From the last few months, we all know that things can change very quickly. Don't be surprised, act accordingly, and this should help you ensure that your launch still happens. Lead by connecting. Brands that have managed to remain relevant use Twitter to connect people with events, occasions, and trends. So while we're still being asked to social distance in the real world, technology has obviously helped bring us together in a virtual one. This is a great example. Twitter is vital to this process, and leading brands can sustain relevance in 3 ways in this virtual world. If you had live events, pivot them to virtual, exactly like Zoe and the team has done here for ZC Live and many, many others. The audience will remain engaged. Perhaps you also have an opportunity to address a larger audience, given that you have less restrictions on actual space. And tap into occasions. They're still taking place regardless of what's happening in the world. And on Twitter, we've seen a huge increase of conversations around these. So birthdays, religious occasions, sports, for examples, they're all a great opportunity to join the conversation. You can see even James Bond got in on the act with a live watchathon on joining Esquire UK to watch GoldenEye. Align as well to new interests that your audience might now be talking about. Again, that's back to just understanding your audience. What they might be talking about could have changed. So here's some trending topics that saw growth earlier on in the year. And this is constantly shifting, as are the interests of your customers. Lead with agility. So leading brands continue to produce quality content in creative solutions over workarounds. Many creative shoots and events being cancelled or postponed or just not able to happen. Marketers have faced new challenges and are evolving quickly. So evolve your content strategy. No shame in using existing assets, transforming them, or bringing them back. Or what about user-generated content? There's a great example here of KFC getting their audience to post images of their homemade efforts at recreating a Zinger meal or anything else that you might buy. And as I just mentioned, people are receptive to online events. Salesforce Leading Through Change is a great example of this. But of course, if you want to be spontaneous, more cost-effective, don't forget that on Twitter, you can be live using Twitter Camera or Periscope with 3 or 4 clicks. And finally, lead with positivity. My favorite one. Following people's passions is a surefire way to put a smile on people's faces. 61% of people considering that it's useful for brands to boost brands to boost positivity and positive stories. So while some people turn to Twitter for updates and news, many more seek light-hearted content as a way to relax, stay connected to others, and be entertained. So continue to connect with these moments and celebrate them when we're appropriate. We all know how it feels, right? At the end of the day, scrolling through your social media feed and you come across something that just makes you laugh out loud. It's a great feeling, right? Make sure that you tap into people's interests and remember again that these may have changed, but this will also allow you to engage with them in a fun way. So to recap, our 7 strategies that make up our lead in the way narrative and allow brands to become conversation leaders are: lead by listening, lead with purpose, lead by example, lead with something new, lead by connecting, lead with agility, and my favorite, lead with positivity. And with that, we say to the brands who have led the way, who are leading conversation, and I also say to you, tweet on. If you have any questions on leading the way narrative, if you want to dig into a little bit more detail, or indeed if you have questions back on the countdown to Christmas, please DM me at PepperDS, and I'll be only too happy to get back to you. A couple of quick notes. If we've inspired you at all and you'd like to learn more about Twitter Business, please do look us up on our website at business.twitter.com, full of resources, blogs, case studies, downloadable guides. You can also subscribe to our podcast, Character Count, available on all podcast services. And of course, if you're not already, please do follow us on Twitter at Twitter Business. Keep an eye out for our Brunch and Learn webinars. They take place about once every month. Our next one is on the 10th of November with a performance marketing masterclass. So keep an eye out for that. And if you'd like any help or support on anything related specifically to Twitter ads, whether it's creative best practice, targeting, campaign setup, and optimization, please do email our team of Twitter ad specialists here at advertiserhelp@twitter.com. And of course, as I've already said, please feel free to DM me on Twitter at PepperDS. So before I leave you, some quick thank yous. Thanks to Jess for joining me earlier during the countdown to Christmas session. Thanks to Zoe, Gareth, and the ZC Live team for giving me the opportunity to speak to you again this year and participate in this wonderful event. Fingers crossed next year that we get back to a little bit of normality. And I hope to see some of you face to face. And finally, thanks to you for being here and listening. I hope you enjoy the day at ZC Live. And as I said earlier, tweet on. Thanks.